You want a life that lasts? You want strength that doesn't shake? You want wealth, peace, power built on something that storms can't steal? Then forget the spotlight. Forget the performance. Forget the applause. And build your character. Because money without character is fragile. Success without character is a setup. And reputation without character? That's just borrowed time. You can fake skills. You can borrow confidence. You can project strength. But character? Character is the part no one sees until everything goes wrong. Character is what holds when the deals fall through. When the pressure rises, when your name is tested and your back is against the wall. It's the foundation beneath the goals. It's the spine behind your reputation. It's the thing that speaks when your mouth stays shut. Character doesn't yell. It doesn't market itself. It doesn't need hashtags or headlines. It moves in silence, but its impact echoes louder than anything else in your life. And here's the hard truth. You don't have character. You build it. Not once, but daily, deliberately, devoutly. In the moments where no one claps. In the decisions no one sees. In the habits that happen when the camera's off and the world isn't watching. You build it in how you treat people who can do nothing for you. In how you talk about others when they're not in the room. In how you keep your word when it's no longer convenient. And the people with real character, you can feel it. They're not loud. They're not flashy. They don't posture. They just walk differently. They carry weight. They walk into chaos and bring calm. They're unshakable not because life didn't try to break them, but because they chose values over vibes, standards over shortcuts, discipline over dopamine, because that's what character is made of. Choices repeated with integrity. Not just once, but until it becomes who you are. So if you want to build character that can't be broken, you must begin by confronting who you've been. You can't build unshakable character on top of shaky foundations. You must clean house. Face your inconsistencies. Own your excuses. Take responsibility for the version of you that got you here. And refuse to let that version lead the next chapter. You want strength? Then you must choose truth, brutal, honest, unforgiving truth. Truth about your habits. Truth about your boundaries. Truth about the lies you've told yourself too. Stay comfortable. Because the person you become when no one is keeping score, that's who you really are. And if that version isn't strong, isn't solid, isn't built on values so deep they shake the room, then it's time to rebuild. Brick by brick, standard by standard, line by line. And don't just build values you talk about. Build values you bleed. Values you won't compromise, no matter the offer, no matter the pressure, no matter the cost, because the world will test you. It will try to pull you into performance. It will tempt you to trade your integrity for influence, your truth for likes, your values for validation. But if your character is real, you don't move. You don't bend. You don't shrink. You don't chase approval from people who sold their own soul to get it. You build in the dark until your light is undeniable. You build so deep that even if they try to cancel you, copy you, or come for you, they can't crack what you built inside. Because here's the truth. Skill will open the door. Talent might get you in the room, but only character keeps you there. Character is what gets whispered when you leave the meeting. Character is what earns the unspoken trust. Character is what scales when charisma runs out. And when you finally understand that, you stop chasing attention and start chasing alignment. Alignment with your values, with your word, with your identity. Not the identity the world gave you, the one you forged through fire, the one that came from showing up when it was hard and staying when it would have been easy to quit. That's what builds unbreakable character. Because once you've laid the foundation of truth, you enter the real battlefield, the mind. Because character is not just built in action. It's built in thought. It's built in what you allow to live rent-free in your head. Because every belief you entertain, every fear you let whisper unchecked, Every excuse you repeat like a mantra is shaping you. You must master your internal world before you can lead anything external. You must stand guard over your thoughts like your legacy depends on it, because it does. You must reject every belief that tells you you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. Those are not your thoughts. They are inherited scripts, passed down from broken people, bitter teachers, and a culture addicted to conformity. Burn them. Replace them with a standard that only allows thoughts aligned with your character. Thoughts that build, not break. Thoughts that challenge, not coddle. Thoughts that forge the steel spine of a leader, not the soft shell of a victim. That's mindset. And mindset is the soil. If the soil is poisoned, nothing real can grow. But if the soil is fertile, if it's nourished by vision, watered by belief, lit by purpose, then character grows wild and unshakable. Purpose gives it direction. Discipline gives it structure. Gratitude gives it depth. Resilience gives it power. Because once you know why you're here, not the surface level answer, not the marketing tagline, but the deep burning truth of what you're called to do, everything changes. You stop negotiating your standards. You stop performing for the world. You stop compromising with the part of you that just wants comfort. Purpose gives you permission to be dangerous, not in a way that hurts others, but in a way that terrifies mediocrity. Because when you live with real purpose, you become immune to the lies that break most people. You don't fold when life punches back. You don't quit when the process stretches you. You grow fangs in the fire. Discipline is what keeps that fire focused. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is devotion to your future self. It's the daily ritual of saying, I may not feel like it, but I am still going to show up aligned with the character I'm building. It's the meal you skip, the show you decline, the comfort you trade, not because you hate yourself, but because you honor your future self. That's what discipline is. It's respect in action. And gratitude? Gratitude is not weakness. Gratitude is the superpower that keeps character anchored in reality. Gratitude grounds you. It reminds you, this didn't happen to me. I was trusted with this process. It keeps you from entitlement. It protects you from arrogance. It rewires your mind to recognize lessons, not just losses. A grateful person builds character that's rooted, not reactive, not boastful, not bitter, because they understand everything is working for me, even the pain, even the pressure, even the setbacks. And when all of this starts to align, your mindset, your purpose, your discipline, your gratitude, then comes the final, most sacred phase. Resilience. Not the fake kind, not the post-it note kind, not the type that screams, I'm strong on Instagram, but crumbles the moment someone disapproves. Real resilience. The kind you earn, the kind that's tested, the kind that bleeds and still breathes, the kind that walks through fire on purpose. Resilience is what turns character from theory into reputation. It's what makes people trust your name before you speak. It's what makes rooms rise when you walk in. It's what allows you to lead with scars, not speeches. Because character that hasn't been tested is just theory. But character that's been through storms, character that's survived betrayal, delay, heartbreak, loneliness, failure, and came out clean, stronger, better aligned. That character can't be broken. And now you're no longer building to impress. You're building to endure. Then let's close this like fire. Because by now, you know this was never about image. This was never about chasing applause. This was about integrity in the dark, conviction in the pressure, identity forged so deep it cannot be moved by the winds of opinion or the storms of circumstance. You don't just want to succeed. You want to become unshakable. and not for show, for substance, so that when life breaks things around you, you remain, so that when the world changes, you stay rooted in who you are, so that when everything is tested, your name, your work, your worth, your character answers without flinching. You want to know who leads the next era? It's not the loud, not the viral, not the ones chasing clout. It's the ones you can trust in a storm. The ones whose energy doesn't spike with likes and drop with silence. The ones whose character was built under pressure and passed every test quietly. The world will forget noise, but it never forgets integrity. It never forgets the person who showed up when others ghosted, who honored their word when it stopped being easy, who built something sacred in a world addicted to shortcuts. That person, they become immortal, not through fame, but through legacy. And legacy isn't a brand. It's a body of work. It's a spirit. It's the echo your life leaves when your voice is gone. And that echo is shaped by character. So from this moment forward, build it like it matters. Build it like it's eternal. Build it like every decision is a brick in the monument of your name. Because one day, they will ask, how did you rise when others fell? How did you stay steady in chaos? How did you hold your center in a world that kept shifting? And you won't say luck. You won't say charm. You'll look them in the eye and say, I built character that couldn't be broken. I chose values over noise. I chose truth over trends. And I never gave the world what I wouldn't first give myself. Excellence, honor, and discipline. So go. Live like your name means something. Lead like your life is the lesson. And stand like a monument of unbreakable character in a world that desperately needs something real again. Because in the end, it was never about how high you climbed. It was always about how deep you were willing to build. The world is louder than ever. Every second, someone is posting, sharing, tagging, uploading, shouting for attention in a global room where everyone is talking and few are truly listening. Visibility has become a currency, a badge, a drug. And we've confused being seen with being significant. But here's the truth they won't tell you. Visibility is hollow without value. Being seen doesn't mean being remembered. Being loud doesn't mean being impactful. And attention without substance is like thunder without rain. It makes noise but changes nothing. You can buy followers. You can boost a post. You can fake popularity. But you can't fake value. You can't fake mastery. You can't fake depth. You can't fake a life that actually matters when the lights go off and the screen goes black. Because at the end of the day, it's not who shouts the loudest that wins, it's who builds the deepest. It's not the person who is everywhere, but the one who is undeniable in the one place that counts. So ask yourself, do you want to be famous or do you want to be formidable? Do you want applause or do you want authority? Do you want clicks or do you want conviction? Because one lasts as long as the algorithm allows, and the other carves your name into eternity. Being visible is easy. All you need is noise, a little drama, a trending topic, and a well-timed post. But being valuable, that takes work. That takes depth. That takes the kind of soul-forging discipline most will never understand. Because it doesn't get likes, it doesn't get shares, it gets results. And real results come from what people don't see. From the hours behind the scenes. From the silence where you study, build, grind. From the moments you chose to grow instead of post. From the times you stayed in the shadows not because you were hiding, but because you were honing. See, a lot of people look the part. They sound impressive. They play the role. But when the lights come on and life demands performance, they crumble. Because visibility gives you attention, but only value earns you trust. Only value builds the kind of reputation that precedes you. Only value makes you unforgettable in a world that forgets fast. So don't just show up. Show up prepared. Show up with skill. Show up with something to say, something to give, something that changes people when you speak, when you move, when you lead. You don't need to market harder. You need to matter more. You don't need a bigger audience. You need real impact. You don't need to chase relevance. You need to become irreplaceable. Because here's the secret. The most powerful people in any room aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who bring weight. Their words carry force. Their presence shifts the atmosphere not because they scream, but because they stand for something. And that something comes from within. It comes from a decision to stop performing for approval and start producing from alignment. It comes from a life lived with intention, not imitation. It comes from building character when nobody's clapping, from doing the right thing when it's invisible, from living in such a way that even in silence you speak volumes. That's value, and it starts with mindset. Because if your mind is constantly chasing visibility, it will miss the quiet, hidden work that makes you great. You'll chase attention instead of mastery. You'll chase comparison instead of clarity. You'll chase recognition instead of results. But if your mindset is locked in on becoming valuable, everything changes. You stop asking, how do I look? And start asking, what do I bring? You stop seeking applause and start earning respect. You stop posting for likes and start living for legacy. Because a valuable person doesn't need to ask for influence, they become it. And that kind of mindset is rare. It's uncomfortable. It's slow, but it's real. It's rooted. It doesn't rise fast, but when it does, it doesn't fall. Visibility rises like smoke. Value rises like a mountain. And you build that value one day at a time. With belief, with discipline, with fierce, unshakable clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what you're building. Clarity about what you will not sacrifice for a few extra views or a fleeting trend. Because when you're clear, you stop trying to be everything and you start becoming something irreplaceable. You stop trying to be seen by everyone and focus on being needed by the right ones. And from that clarity comes vision. A vision not based on what's popular, but on what's possible. Not built on the shallow winds of approval, but the deep roots of purpose. Purpose that says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to serve you. I'm not here to compete. I'm here to contribute. I'm not here for attention. I'm here for impact. When that vision guides you, everything gets sharper. Your goals become sacred. Your time becomes protected. Your energy becomes focused not on being everywhere, but on becoming excellent where it matters. You begin to value depth over reach, substance over spotlight, legacy over likes. And that shift, that internal revolution is what separates the visible from the valuable. Because once you've anchored your life in vision, you begin to move differently. You stop sprinting toward every trend. You stop pivoting every time the crowd turns. You no longer need to chase relevance. You define it. Because your life is not built on hype, it's built on heft. And from vision comes purpose. Not the kind you quote on your profile, the kind that pulls you out of bed before the sun, the kind that anchors you when everything around you is shaking, the kind that doesn't waver, doesn't weaken, doesn't wait for validation, it just works. See, when you're driven by purpose, you don't need attention to feel alive. You don't need likes to feel legitimate. Because purpose doesn't beget builds. It builds systems. It builds consistency. It builds character. And character is everything. Because in a world that rewards appearance, character is the unseen advantage. Character is what makes people trust you in silence, defend you in absence, and follow you in uncertainty. It's the weight behind your words, the steel behind your smile, the force behind your presence. You can't fake character. You can't filter it. You become it by showing up when it's hard, telling the truth when it's costly, doing the work when no one's looking. And that's where discipline enters. Discipline is the ultimate separator, not talent, not charm, not even opportunity. Discipline The ability to say, I will do it, and then do it again and again and again, whether the world is watching or not. To show up at 5 a.m. with no camera on you. To study when no one's praising your hustle. To build when nobody claps. That's the real flex. Discipline is the quiet engine of those who last. And it's what turns value from a dream into a reality. Not once, not sometimes, but daily. Because what you do every day becomes who you are forever. And discipline births action. But not just motion, meaningful movement. Not just busyness, bold steps toward a clear vision. Because you've seen what happens when people stay in their heads. They get stuck in potential. Trapped in perfection. Paralyzed by fear. But action is the antidote. Not loud, frantic action. Quiet, strategic, relentless execution. You don't need 100 ideas. You need one executed plan. You don't need everyone to agree. You need enough momentum to not care. Because when you act with alignment, the world adjusts. Doors open. Voices rise. And life starts to move around your intention. And that intention brings us to gratitude. Not the soft kind that hides from ambition. The kind that amplifies it. The kind that says, because I'm grateful, I build. Because I'm blessed, I work. Because I've been given much, I will give more. Gratitude gives you energy when others burn out. It turns pressure into privilege. It takes I have to and turns it into I get to. And that energy flows into adaptability. Because no matter how strong your plan, the world will test it. Markets change. People shift. Life throws left hooks without warning. But the valuable don't panic. They pivot. They don't cling to the plan, they commit to the outcome. They're flexible in approach, but fixed in resolve. Because the end game isn't comfort, it's contribution. It's becoming the kind of person who can handle the storm and still deliver the message. And to keep delivering, you'll need resilience. Not toughness, not numbness. Resilience. The quiet strength to break without being broken. To bend without losing your backbone. To take the hits, hear the noise, feel the pressure and still rise. Still create. Still serve. Still matter. Because that's what value does. It doesn't retreat. It doesn't disappear when it's hard. It becomes even more essential, more rare, more revered. And as you keep showing up with that fire, that humility, that relentless excellence, something shifts. You no longer seek value. You embody it. You no longer need the spotlight. You are the light. Because when you are the light, you stop waiting for someone to hand you a platform. You become the platform, a foundation others can stand on, a standard others aspire to, a source that fuels rooms, movements, generations. And suddenly, you're not chasing influence. You're carrying weight. And in this world, weight is everything. Not the kind that crushes, but the kind that grounds. That makes people stop when you speak. That makes silence follow your words. That makes people listen because they can feel it. This person is not performing. This person is real. And that realness, that gravitas, it didn't come from shouting. It came from showing up every single day. When it wasn't convenient, when it wasn't glamorous, when it wasn't validated. And over time, you stopped being impressive. You started being unshakable. Because you weren't building a moment, you were building mastery. And mastery doesn't announce itself. It doesn't brag. It shows in the precision, in the posture, in the peace you carry. Because when you know you bring value, you no longer need to prove it. You live it. You lead with it. You walk in rooms with it not louder, but heavier. Not because you're demanding anything, but because you deliver everything. That's the shift. When the world starts adjusting to you, when the spotlight starts chasing you, when opportunity starts flowing to you, not because you manipulated it, but because you matured into it. You grew into someone who no longer needs to compete, because value never competes. Value doesn't chase. Value attracts. And now your work speaks without needing your voice. Your presence teaches without needing a podium. Your name carries weight without needing an introduction, because you live differently. You chose to build, not boast, to become, not broadcast, to root yourself in real substance, while the world was busy shouting into the wind. And now the wind listens. And let's be clear, this is not the path of the many. This is not the way of the performer. This is not for the addicted to approval. This is for the builders, the quiet storm, the rare breed who would rather be respected quietly than celebrated falsely. It's for the ones who know. Visibility fades, fame dies, but value echoes long after the lights go off, long after the applause dies out, long after the world forgets the noise. They remember the one who gave them something real, something that shaped them, something that changed them, something they carry forward. And if that's who you want to be, then you must live differently today. You must decide, will I impress or will I impact? Will I broadcast or will I build? Will I chase noise or will I craft depth? Because one fades and the other founds empires. So forget being everywhere. Forget being the loudest. Forget being seen. Be valuable, and the world will never forget you. And now we arrive at the edge of something sacred, the threshold where identity meets eternity, where what you do aligns fully with who you are, where every minute becomes a brushstroke on the masterpiece of your legacy. This is where power begins. Not the kind they flash on stages or post in pictures, the kind that lives in the marrow of your character, the kind that can't be faked, can't be photoshopped, can't be stolen. It can only be earned through depth, through discipline, through devotion to something bigger than applause. Because when you choose to be valuable and just visible, you rise above the cycle. You transcend the algorithm. You break free from the hamster wheel of being seen, liked, and forgotten. Instead, you root yourself in the eternal, in what lasts, in what matters, in what multiplies long after you're gone. You no longer build moments. You build movements. And it starts not with a speech or a post, but with a decision, the decision to live on purpose. Every word you speak with intention. Every action you take with alignment. Every hour you spend with precision. Because the one who becomes valuable understands this. You are not just here to participate. You are here to transform, to shift paradigms, to bend the room with your integrity, to awaken the powerful in others, simply by being true in yourself. And for that, you must be relentless. Relentless in your self-respect. Relentless in your craft. Relentless in your refusal to sell your soul for attention. Because the world will tempt you. It will offer you quick fame. It will applaud your image and ignore your emptiness. It will beg you to be interesting before you are useful. But you will not take the bait. Because you've seen where that road ends. Famous, but fragile. Known, but not needed. Everywhere, but not anchored. No, you've chosen something greater. Something fewer understand, but all remember. Legacy built through value. And that value is not what you say you are. It's what people experience when you walk into their life. It's how your words move them, how your actions elevate them, how your presence heals them, how your excellence leads them. That cannot be manufactured. It must be forged. Forged in the furnace of discipline, sharpened by solitude, tested in trials, proven in the fire of real life. So here you are at the intersection of what's popular and what's permanent. And this moment is asking you to choose. Will you live for the camera or for consequence? Will you chase the trend or become the truth? Will you be another name on a screen or the voice in someone's soul? The world doesn't need more influencers. It needs more influencers of substance. People who have lived it. People who carry it. People who walk with such integrity, such depth, such undeniable weight, that even in silence they speak. So rise into that role. Let your value be felt before your name is even known. Let your excellence precede your presence. Let your character be the loudest thing about you. Because when you become valuable, truly, deeply, soulfully valuable, you don't just change lives. You change generations. And the world, it won't just see you. It will never be the same because you were here. Be valuable, not just visible. You were not born to be invisible. You were not born to merely survive the noise of this world. You were born to resonate above it, to rise, to build, to create something so valuable, so undeniable, so unshakably powerful that the world has no choice but to turn its head and listen. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you woke up and felt like what you were building mattered? Not to your boss, not to the people who barely understand what you do, not to the numbers on your paycheck. I mean, mattered in that deep, echoing, soul-level way, the kind of mattering that makes your blood burn with purpose, the kind that gives your time weight, the kind that turns your breath into intention. If that feeling has become rare, if it's missing, if your hands are busy, but your heart is quiet, then this message is for you. Because the truth is, value is not something the world gives you. It's something you give the world. And most people never get that far. They're too busy waiting to be discovered, waiting to be promoted, waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect time to be bold. And while they wait, time does what it always does. It marches on, merciless and quiet, rewarding those who dared to move without certainty, without applause, without a guarantee. Let me tell you something that most never hear. The world doesn't reward effort. It rewards results. It rewards impact. It rewards value. So the question is not, what are you working on? The question is, are you building something so valuable the world can't ignore it? That's the goal. That's the mission. That's the shift in your identity. You are not just a worker, not just a hustler, not just an optimist. You are a builder of value. You want recognition? Build something worthy of recognition. You want respect? Build something so extraordinary, so needed, so powerful they must respect it. You want freedom? Build something that buys your time back 1,000-fold. You want legacy? Then your work cannot be ordinary, it cannot be quiet, it cannot be forgettable. This is where mindset becomes your starting blueprint. Because before you ever touch the tools, before you make a plan, before you craft a business, a product, a brand, a voice, you must first fix the foundation. And that foundation is how you see yourself. So let's go back. Who told you to shrink? Who taught you to play small? Who convinced you that value was something other people had, people with more connections, more money, more charisma, more confidence? That lie ends now. Because here is the truth. Value is not given. It is created every day. With your decisions, with your thinking, with the way you show up in the invisible hours when no one's watching. It starts in the mind, in the belief that what you do, what you build, what you choose to create matters. You see, the marketplace doesn't care about your degree. It doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care about how badly you want success. It responds to value, cold, hard, undeniable value. If you want the market to move for you, then become the kind of person whose work moves the market. And that begins with clarity. Clarity is the architect of all meaningful progress. If you don't know what you're building, you'll build something average, something safe, something that looks like everything else on the shelf. You'll build a copy of a copy, a pale reflection of someone else's fire. But when you get clear, and I mean soul-level clarity, the kind of clarity that wakes you up in the middle of the night with an idea so strong it pulls you out of bed, that's when value starts to take shape. So let me ask you, what problem do you solve? Every builder of value solves problems. That's the foundation of business, the foundation of influence, the foundation of leadership. Problems are the raw materials of opportunity. Most people run from them. The few, they run toward them. Because every problem you face is an open door, waiting to be closed by someone who dares to solve it better than anyone else. You want to be rich? Solve $1 million problem. You want to be famous? Solve a problem everyone feels, but no one is named. You want to be indispensable? Solve the kind of problem people can't afford to live with and can't solve without you. But clarity doesn't come to the passive. It comes to the intentional. You don't find your purpose. You forge it. You sit with the questions most people run from. What do I know deeply that others overlook? What frustrates me so much I have to fix it? What would I do even if no one paid me? And how do I turn that into something people would pay for? That is how value is born. That is how clarity becomes cash flow. That is how purpose becomes power. But purpose without discipline is just noise. Let's talk about discipline, the bridge between your idea and its execution. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, especially when it's no longer exciting. Because let's be honest, everyone's motivated on day one. Everyone's hyped when the idea is new. But value isn't built in the spark. It's built in the grind. Discipline is waking up before the world expects anything of you, and producing before consuming, creating before scrolling, writing before watching, learning before relaxing. You want the world to respect your work? Start respecting your own time. Cut the fluff, kill the distractions, starve the noise, feed the work. Every day you delay is a day someone else gets closer to building what you were supposed to. And when that happens, they get the rewards, they get the spotlight, they get the impact. Not because they were better than you, but because they were faster to act, bolder in belief, and more disciplined in execution. And that is something you control, always. So stop waiting for certainty. Start moving with intention. Because clarity is earned in motion, not in overthinking. The greatest builders in history, from Ford to Jobs, from Disney to Musk, they didn't wait till the world believed in them. They built until the world had no choice. They didn't say, look at me. They said, look at this. Build something so valuable they can't ignore it. Not someday, today. And now we move to the deeper engine of all creation, belief. Because even with clarity, even with discipline, if your belief is small, your output will be small. You will never outbuild the limits of your belief. You can have the best strategies, the perfect plan, the most advanced tools, but if deep down you don't believe you're worthy of creating something extraordinary, you'll sabotage it. You'll delay it. You'll downplay it. You'll shrink your genius to match your insecurity. And listen, this is not about arrogance. This is not about pretending you're the best. It's about knowing that you are capable of becoming it through sweat, through fire, through focused, relentless work. Most people never build value because they don't believe they are valuable. They walk through life wearing the masks of their past, the failures, the rejections, the small-town thinking, the toxic voices that said, who do you think you are? And you know what? They believed them, but not you, not anymore. Because if you're hearing this now, it means something inside you is waking up. Some ancient fire, some deeper truth, a whisper from the part of you that never gave up even when everything told you to. And that part is right. You were made to build something powerful, something rare, something timeless. And it begins with belief. You don't need proof to start. You need faith. You don't need applause to keep going. You need conviction. Belief is the invisible scaffolding that holds up your future. Every brick you lay, every choice you make, every sacrifice you endure, all of it is a declaration. I believe this is worth building. And the moment your belief becomes unshakable, you become unstoppable. Because now, you're no longer working for validation. You're working from vision. That leads us into the next crucial ingredient, vision. Clarity is knowing what you want. Vision is seeing it before anyone else does. And don't confuse vision with goals. Goals are specific, measurable, and time-bound. They live on a calendar. But vision lives in your spirit. It haunts your dreams. It colors your thoughts. It shapes your identity. Vision is the picture of your future so vivid that the present starts to move in its direction. You've got to see it, feel it, taste it. You've got to close your eyes and already live in that world you're building. Not because you're delusional, but because your belief is so strong, your vision becomes a magnet pulling your reality forward. And let me be clear, if your vision doesn't scare you a little, it's not big enough. If people around you don't question your ambition, you're playing too small. Because anything the world can't ignore was first laughed at, dismissed, misunderstood. They laughed at Amazon. They scoffed at Netflix. They mocked Tesla. They ignored Airbnb. And now they depend on them because someone saw what others couldn't, and they built it anyway. So here's your challenge. Dare to hold a vision so clear, so bold, so specific that it guides your actions and disciplines your choices. And that vision must be grounded in something far more powerful than ego or envy. It must be rooted in purpose. Because without purpose, your work becomes a prison. You'll feel burnt out not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing what doesn't matter. Purpose is what makes the struggle worth it. It's what keeps you going when there's no feedback, no likes, no money, no momentum, just you and the work. Purpose turns pressure into fuel. Purpose turns setbacks into pivots. Purpose turns ordinary work into sacred contribution. You don't have to know the whole path, but you do have to know the why behind your first step. Why does this matter? Why do you have to be the one to build it? Why now? The stronger your why, the lighter the load will feel. Not because it's easy, but because it's meaningful. Purpose makes pain tolerable and victories sweeter. It's what separates those who quit when it gets hard from those who become legends because they endured. But don't confuse purpose with passion. Passion is the spark. Purpose is the foundation. Passion is emotional. Purpose is spiritual. Passion fades. Purpose anchors. And that anchor is what will keep you steady in the next phase of building. Action. Let's talk about that. Because too many people drown in ideas and never swim in execution. They mistake thinking for progress, planning for productivity, vision boards for actual value. But let me remind you, the world doesn't pay you for your dreams. It pays you for delivery. Execution is what separates the daydreamers from the doers. You can't meditate your way into mastery. You can't manifest your way into mastery. You must move. You must act. You must build. Brick by brick. Call by call. Failure by failure. Day by day. The process is not glamorous. You will be tired. You will be doubted. You will be alone. But you will also become stronger than you imagined. And with each action, no matter how small, you move closer to creating something that lives beyond you. Because in the end, value is built through action, not intention. And here's what most forget. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to get everything perfect. You need to keep going. Relentlessly. Repeatedly. Ruthlessly. You want to build something so valuable the world can't ignore it? Then stop giving up so easily. Build when you're tired. Build when you're scared. Build when it feels like nothing is working. Because every great work was once just a pile of mistakes glued together by grit. That's how legacies are built, not in explosions of brilliance, but in waves of relentless execution. And when you build like that, the world can't ignore you. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because your work became a voice no one could silence. And now gratitude. Yes, gratitude. You might not expect it here. In the midst of building, grinding, pushing, forging. But gratitude is the hidden lever that multiplies everything you build. Because without gratitude, even success tastes hollow. Without gratitude, you'll achieve. You'll climb, but never feel like you've arrived. You'll always be chasing the next level, the next win, the next mountain, without ever pausing to own the greatness you've already become. Gratitude doesn't mean complacency. It means acknowledging that where you are is the result of battles fought, lessons learned, and doors opened that could have stayed shut. It means pausing long enough to remember that the strength you carry now was forged in fires you once thought would destroy you. Gratitude grounds your greatness. It keeps your ego in check. It reminds you that while you're building for the future, you're standing on foundations built by others, mentors, friends, even your past self who refused to quit. It gives you perspective in failure. It gives you humility in victory. And most of all, it fuels resilience. Because when things go wrong, and they will, gratitude keeps you from becoming bitter. It turns breakdowns into breakthroughs. It transforms why me into what can this teach me? You want to build something the world can't ignore? Be the kind of builder who celebrates the process, not just the product. Be the kind of person who thanks the challenge while defeating it. That's rare. And anything rare is valuable. Now from gratitude, we shift to its close cousin, adaptability. Because no matter how clear your vision, how strong your belief, how fierce your work ethic, life will throw you off course. Plans will crumble. Markets will shift. People will let you down. Technology will leap ahead. Trends will vanish. And just when you think you've figured it out, it all changes. And in those moments, the rigid break, but the adaptable rise. Adaptability is not weakness, it's weaponry. It's the ability to pivot without panic. It's the flexibility to reimagine without losing your core. It's the mindset that says, I will not cling to what was, I will respond to what is. And let me be real with you. The ones who win big in life aren't just the most talented. They are the most adaptable. They let go of old strategies that no longer work. They evolve their skill sets. They embrace reinvention. They kill their darlings. They outlast because they out-adapt. If you want to build something valuable in this ever-shifting world, you must become obsessed with evolution, not perfection. You must learn how to change direction without losing speed. You must become fluent in failure, not afraid of it, fluent in it. Because failure speaks in a language the average mind avoids, but the resilient mind translates into momentum. Which brings us to perhaps the most vital trait of all, resilience. Resilience is what makes builders legendary. It's not how hard you can hit, it's how many times you can be hit and still show up the next day with your head high and your heart ready. Every person who built something valuable was once underestimated, ridiculed, overlooked, or betrayed. And they built anyway. They didn't build because it was easy. They built because they couldn't imagine not building. They were addicted to the climb, obsessed with the outcome, committed to the process. They didn't fold under pressure. They became diamonds because of it. Resilience is showing up to the work after the heartbreak. It's recommitting after the failure. It's loving the mission, even when the mission forgets to love you back. And resilience isn't just about recovery, it's about reinvention. Every time the world tells you no, resilience whispers, watch me. You want to build something so valuable the world can't ignore it? Then prepare to be ignored at first. Prepare to be misunderstood. Prepare to be doubted, ghosted, laughed at, and overlooked. But don't let that discourage you. Let it develop you. Because the pain that doesn't destroy you builds you. The resistance that doesn't break you strengthens you. And the adversity that doesn't end you elevates you. So feel the pain, absorb it, let it sting, but never let it stop you. Because that pain, it's the tuition you pay for greatness. And once you've paid it, no one can take your power. Let's talk about something else now, learning. Because your ability to grow is directly tied to your willingness to remain a student. The most dangerous thing you can believe is that you already know enough. Because when you stop learning, you stop evolving. And when you stop evolving, the world leaves you behind. The greatest builders, the legends, the icons, they're obsessive learners. They inhale books. They devour feedback. They analyze failure like it's treasure. Because they understand this. The more you learn, the more you earn. In money, in wisdom, in influence, in life. Your brain is your most powerful business partner. Feed it. Don't just consume content, study it. Don't just attend events. Apply what you heard. Don't just chase motivation, master the mechanics behind the mindset. You've got podcasts, books, mentors, courses, tools. You live in the most knowledge-rich moment in human history. Ignorance today is a choice. So don't choose ignorance. Choose growth. Choose mastery. Choose becoming so good they can't ignore you. Because when your mind is sharp, your voice becomes stronger. When your wisdom grows, your impact multiplies. And when your learning never stops, your value never stops rising. And that's what this has always been about. Not popularity, not status, not chasing trends or attention. It's about value, creating it, becoming it, multiplying it, until the world, that busy, noisy, distracted world, has no choice but to stop and see you. Because you've built something so rare, so needed, so relentlessly excellent. They can't ignore it anymore. So here we are. We've climbed through belief. We've endured the crucible of discipline. We've harnessed clarity, vision, purpose, action, resilience. We've embraced gratitude. We've adapted. We've learned. We've evolved. And now we become. Because there comes a moment in every builder's journey, a quiet, thunderous moment when you realize you're no longer trying to become something valuable. You are valuable. You've poured yourself into the work. You've showed up in silence. You've trained in the dark. You've failed and failed forward. You've bled belief into every detail, every decision, every early morning and late night. And you look up one day and see not a crowd, not a trophy, not a bank balance. You see you, transformed, refined, unbreakable, undeniable. You see someone who was forged by purpose and built by principle. And that person, that version of you, that's the real asset. Not the company, not the product, not the followers or fans or fame. You. You are the value. You are the engine. You are the power source. You are the system. You are the story the world never saw coming. Because in a world of noise, you built substance. In a world of shortcuts, you built skill. In a world of filters, you built truth. In a world of endless distractions, you built focus. In a world of passive consumption, you built creation. And what you've created, the person you've become, the impact you've carved into this world, that is something so valuable the world can't ignore. So don't stop. Not now. Build when it's raining. Build when they doubt you. Build when no one watches, likes, claps, or cares. Build when your energy is low and your fire feels small. Build when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because value is forged in adversity, not in applause. You don't need them to believe in you. You need you to believe in what you're building. And when that belief is strong, when it burns, when it shines through your actions, your consistency, your mastery, your excellence, they will come. They'll ask how you did it. They'll ask where you came from. They'll say it was overnight, and they'll be wrong. Because you didn't arrive overnight. You built for years in silence. You sacrificed in private. You showed up when no one saw. You laid bricks while others broke down. You chose creation over comfort. You chose greatness over fitting in. You chose legacy over likes. And now, there's no need to convince anyone. Your results speak. Your presence speaks. Your work speaks. Because the thing you built, the person you became, the truth you lived, it's so valuable, so real. It doesn't need marketing to be recognized. It's recognized because it can't be ignored. So here's my final ask of you. Build it anyway. When they mock you, build it anyway. When they misunderstand you, build it anyway. When it feels like no one needs what you have, build it anyway. Because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs your voice, your fire, your mission, your art, your innovation, your soul turned into something real. Build something so valuable the world can't ignore it. And one day they won't. They'll look back and realize you weren't just building a project. You were building yourself. And nothing is more valuable than a human being who's fully awake, fully alive, and fully on purpose. So go. Start. Today. And don't stop. Because the world is waiting for what only you can build. And you're ready. You always were.